Rocke Brothers is a fifth-generation family business based in Melbourne. The company has evolved from modest beginnings more than a century ago, becoming a dominant waterfront carrier at the Port of Melbourne. It has 2 container depots, 3 warehouses and more than 60 prime movers. We chat to brothers Paul and Michael at their Brooklyn depot.
Rocke Brothers is 3 brothers, Matthew, Michael and myself. Michael's the oldest and then Matthew, and I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. We're a family that's been in the industry for 5 generations. Great-great-grandpa walked his horse and cart to the goldfields and couldn't strike it rich, so he thought he'd make some money by carrying people's goods. And I think it came down to my great-grandfather, and then my grandfather, and then my father, and eventually the boys. Becoming the 3rd largest wharf carrier was probably a lot to do with our history. We still have clients who remember Grandpa. We have a lot of clients who still remember very fondly of my father, Peter, who's been a trailblazer in the industry and a great ally to us, as he's been able to promote sometimes our name.
I think one of Dad's greatest strengths was he treated people all the same. He tried to treat, the guy who was sweeping out the container to the CEO in the business, he tried to treat them all exactly the same. And Dad had a great skill of always remembering people's names, and so, that's a skill I don't have. But yeah, that's what I've learned. This business is very well located because we're only 15 minutes from the wharf and we're in the heart of where many of the empty container parks are, so that's a real positive. Our business works 24/7, so we basically have to pretty much run with 2 shifts of people. It's a very demanding business on our people. You
don't often have the destiny in your own hands. You're at the mercy of the stevedore, the weather, the shipping line, your client, your drivers, the condition of the M1 freeway, the wind.
Moving cargo into the southeastern corridor is very difficult. We do have problems with delivering freight into that sector when there are problems on the road network, so we're going to have to look at, in the future, I suspect, having some sort of business out in that area.
I think in an industry like us, we've been successful because our people actually understand that we're here for them as well as our own. And it's not, we don't live a lavish lifestyle. We put everything back into the industry or back into the business. And I think the people who work for us understand that we care about them.
We have to keep the business as informal as we can with our staff. We try and make it a light-hearted place to work. It's very much a business about its culture.
Well, we'd have a range of probably 300 customers, some that would take 1 container a month, to some that we would pack 40 or 50 containers a day. We work directly for the importer or the exporter. We work for freight forwarders. We work for one-off people who ring up and say they're importing a container to go up to the farm. So we do a bit of everything.
I think this is an industry that's always worked with a lot of goodwill between the players, between the stevedores, the empty parks, the carrier and the customers. I think as society changes, that's being diluted a little bit. And I do have a concern with carriers whether they continue to reinvest in their businesses like they have in the future. But Melbourne has been a very good port, and the players in it have made it work well. It depends on infrastructure. We're probably on the edge of the cliff a little bit. The existing port is very heavily tonnaged. There's a new wharf developing at Webb Dock. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting cycle in the next 10 years.
I would say if you lined our wharf fleet up against any other fleet in Melbourne, we'd be the #1 in the age of our fleet, the quality of our fleet. Sometimes it's not always the cleanest because we have a muddy yard, but strip that back. you know, we have a really good product, and I think people appreciate the product. We're not the dearest, we're not the cheapest, but we're the best, and I strongly believe that.